Ladies and gentlemen, I want to share with you that tomorrow Al Qaeda will celebrate its 25th birthday. Al Qaeda was born on the 10th of September 1988 in Peshawar, in Pakistan. And the creation of Al Qaeda has a direct link to Israel. That is the ideological father of Al Qaeda, Dr. Abdullah Azzam. He's from Jenin. In fact, from a village very close to Jenin. And the key document, the conceptual document of Al Qaeda was written by Abdullah Azzam and published in the Journal of the Mujahideen called Al Jihad in March of 1988. And I want to share with you that a copy of Al Jihad magazine was mailed by someone in Pakistan to an address in Jenin. And the Israeli Internal Security Service, the Shin Bet, intercepted that particular document. So when 9/11 occurred, the Americans didn't have a copy, the CIA didn't have a copy of the founding document of Al Qaeda. And they had to get a copy from their Israeli counterpart, their Israeli colleagues, because the Israelis had already intercepted a copy of this ideological document that Abdullah Azzam had written in 1988. I also want to share with you that the original name of Al Qaeda is Al Qaeda al-Sulba. Al Qaeda al-Sulba means the solid base. That was the original name of Al Qaeda. But in 2001, Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, the current leader of Al Qaeda, he merged his own group, that is the Egyptian Islamic Jihad, the Al Jihad al-Islami al-Masri, this group, with Bin Laden's group called Al Qaeda. So the real name of Al Qaeda is Al Qaeda al-Jihad, but the original name of Al Qaeda is Al Qaeda al-Sulba. Today I want to say that Al Qaeda is a very small organization in terms of numbers. At 9/11, the numerical strength of Al Qaeda was estimated by the Western security and intelligence services at between 2,000 to 3,000 fighters. Today, the numerical strength of Al Qaeda, largely located on the Afghan-Pakistan border, is less than 200 fighters. Because this group has immensely suffered in the last 12 years. It is because of sustained counter-terrorism actions. And of course, its own founder leader, Bin Laden, was killed in Abbottabad in Pakistan. And the head of the media committee of Al Qaeda was Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, and he became the head of Al Qaeda. So to share with you, today the core of the global jihad movement or the global terrorist movement, which is Al Qaeda, the core has become very small because of sustained counterterrorism operations. And today the key strength of the global jihad movement they are the associated groups of Al Qaeda, the groups that are in Asia, in Africa, in the Middle East. And I also want to share with you a little bit about what are these affiliate groups. And I want to say that in the Levant has now become a very important region for Al Qaeda. In fact, one of the biggest groups of Al Qaeda, the associated groups, is Al Qaeda in Iraq, which was earlier known as Tawhid wal Jihad, led by Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. And the group that is operating in Syria, Al-Nusra, in fact, is a breakaway faction of Al Qaeda in Iraq, although Al-Nusra today has taken a bay'ah. Bay'ah means the oath of allegiance to Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri himself. So we are seeing that the Levant is becoming a very important region for the associated groups of Al Qaeda, and so is the Arabian Peninsula. If you look at the Arabian Peninsula, one of the key extensions of Al Qaeda is located in Yemen, the Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, Aqab. And also in North Africa, we have Aqim, which is Al Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. So you can see that these sisters and brothers, or the daughters and the sons of Al-Qaeda has been created. It is because Al-Qaeda was able to inspire and instigate so many other groups in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East to embrace the ideology of Al-Qaeda. What is the ideology of Al-Qaeda? The ideology of Al-Qaeda is very simple. That is that the US, their allies and their friends, Israel is an ally, these are attacking Muslims and killing Muslims and deliberately attacking Islam. And we have to defend, to protect our faith and faithful, we have to hit the US, their allies and their friends. This is the ideology, the philosophical underpinnings of Al-Qaeda. And also Al-Qaeda used suicide terrorism, and that is something that made this group become very iconic, to be remembered by many other groups. And Al-Qaeda and its associated groups argue that if you do a suicide attack, you will get 5 rewards. 5 rewards. What are these 5 rewards? One is you can go to paradise. Second is you can have an audience with God. Third is you are forgiven for your vices and sins. And the next is that you can take 70 of your relatives to heaven. So your mother is ill, father doesn't have a job, brother or sister not doing well at school or workplace, you can take 70 of your relatives to heaven. So I want to tell you that some of the relatives are in fact supporting the children to go and do suicide attacks. So we have one case in the UK where 2 family members were prosecuted because they were supporting the suicide bomber. And the final thing is that you can have 72 virgins. This is very appealing, especially for the young people, because they have a lot of testosterone. So I want to share with you, in fact, some of you who are old also may be having high levels of testosterone. But I must share with you that, that this is one of the drivers why people get attracted to these extremist ideologies. Let me also share with you that the geography of Al-Qaeda has changed very significantly. Al-Qaeda, as I said, was created in Peshawar, in Pakistan, the border of Afghanistan, in 88. But by 91, Al-Qaeda shifted from Pakistan to Khartoum, Sudan. So Khartoum, Sudan was the golden age of Al-Qaeda. So 91, March to May 1996, Al-Qaeda located in Khartoum, Sudan. Bin Laden had a very good relationship with Hassan al-Turabi of the National Islamic Front, and also with General Omar Bashir. Later, because of the US and Western European pressure, this group shifted to Afghanistan and remained in Afghanistan until about October of 2001. And after that, relocated back to Pakistan. So today, this group has become a very small group, still significant, because operationally it's not a significant group, because the group has been weakened, but ideologically it is a very significant group, and also very important training organization. It continues to provide the ideology and the training, the knowledge for these groups. For instance, in Saudi Arabia, when the Saudi authorities raided the mosques and the madrasas, the Islamic boarding schools and their safe houses, and confiscated the terrorist literature, including the training camp manuals, the terrorists placed it on the web. So the internet became the principal communications platform, also the platform for training, platform for raising funds. So you can see that this group, Al-Qaeda and its associated groups, very good in creating new opportunities, very innovative, very creative. In fact, Al-Qaeda's website, alnida.com, is one of the first, most comprehensive websites it created. Since then, several thousand websites have been created by Bin Laden, Ayman al-Zawahiri, and their associates. In fact, Bin Laden's son-in-law, who now heads the media committee of Al-Qaeda, he is from Morocco. He is a German qualified software engineer. And they knew how to use the internet. In fact, Al-Sahab, which is the media the production, the video production wing of Al-Qaeda, every 4 to 5 days, it produces a video that is put on the web that plays a very important role in politicizing, radicalizing, and mobilizing the Muslim youth. So what can we do about this? Number one is that we have to use operational counterterrorism measures, catch, kill, disrupt, to kill the important leaders. And if you can't kill them, to capture them. If you can't capture them, to disrupt their operations. Second aspect is to invest to prevent the spread of ideology. The ideological virus of Al-Qaeda is like a cancer. Wherever the ideology travels, you will see after a few months the operational infrastructure that is being created. And after that, you can see the attacks. So containing and isolating and countering the ideology of this group is crucial. But I also want to share with you something which is in many ways the weakness of Israel, is that you do not have a successful terrorist rehabilitation program. You do not rehabilitate your security detainees. But I want to share with you that in Singapore and also in many countries that we have worked with to seed terrorist rehabilitation programs, we have succeeded. We have advocated a 6-pronged approach to ideologically engage those detainees and to transform them from terrorists to responsible citizens. What we have done is we have engaged them using 6 interfaces. One is religious and spiritual rehabilitation. The Specialist Counterterrorism Research and Training Center that I lead, 50% of our staff are Muslims. Third of that staff are Muslim clerics. Many of them studied at Al-Azhar University in Egypt, which is the highest seat of Islamic learning. And I want to tell you that these clerics spend so much of time engaging those detainees, replacing their negative views with positive views, correcting the misinterpretation, the misrepresentation they make of the Quran and of the Hadith. The second is educational rehabilitation. We found that many of the terrorists are very poorly educated. So we provide education, a much broader education than what they have had. Because most Muslims from those countries where terrorism stems, they don't study science or mathematics or philosophy. So the educational rehabilitation is a very important component. Then we work with the private sector, and we have built a vocational training component where we train them in set of new skills: agriculture, fishery, farming, computing, number of those capabilities. Another is creative arts in rehabilitation. We broaden their view, teach them song, dance, music, puppetry, literature. This is another phase for engaging them, so that we prepare them to go back to normal society. Because when you become extremist, you abandon a lot of that. Then another aspect of rehabilitation that we have used is recreational rehabilitation, sports especially. And we don't play against them, we play with them, create a new way where they can express themselves. So these are the different avenues of rehabilitation we have developed. Also, if you look at the counterterrorism spectrum, one end of the spectrum is black operations, another is white operations. So we've invested in reconciliation, because we have seen that many of the terrorists, when they return back to their homes, they get re-radicalized. So we have also created a robust program to re-engage the communities, to work with the communities to counter the extremist ideologies. We have seen often when a terrorist is arrested, even the children, even the wives are radicalized. So it is very important to have programs to move them away from the extremist mindset to the mainstream mindset. But this is the more difficult aspect of counterterrorism. Catch, kill, disruption, or operational counterterrorism is much more easier to accomplish. Strategic counterterrorism remains a global challenge, but it is in investing in strategic counterterrorism that we can win the fight. I thank you very much.